Okay, we're going to talk about Daniel and Esther's preparation for the king. Some of you that are new to the channel might not have any idea of the stuff we're going to talk about. You're kind of late to this information, late to the party. But guys, it's all about anointing the king. Okay? It's all about anointing the king. It says, anoint the most holy in Daniel chapter 9, verse 24. And that's what it is. What is the oil? What is the virgins? They have oil in their lamps. The oil is love. Okay? So there's so much information that's preceded the things I'm going to tell you, so that if this is the first thing that you've heard from this channel or heard from this teaching, I just strongly encourage you to do some research before you just comment and blurt out things that you don't understand. Do some research, do some work. You'll see that this is going on, okay? Now, we have a whole playlist on Esther's preparation. Esther her name means star, okay? So she does prepare herself for the king. And we find her preparation for the king and some parallels with that of Daniel. In Daniel chapter 1, Daniel and the other elect Hebrews were in preparation 3 years for the king. So we have learned through Esther had 1 year of preparation. And through Daniel chapter 1, we know that Daniel had 3 years preparation for the king. Okay? Now, what we're going to do in this video is we're going to see that Esther's preparation as it relates to the oil. Okay, we know the wise virgins had oil in their lamps. Okay, we're going to see that those relate to certain spices. And as we have told you, those spices are measurable. Okay, they're measurable by something called a shekel. Okay, so the shekel, the root of it is to weigh. Okay, so the way you measure and weigh the amount of spices that go into this is by a shekel. Well, through that, we can actually do a conversion of what we find in the book of Esther to the spices and compare them with Daniel and see that it relates to time. Okay, now let's look at some parallels. There's more parallels that I'm saying, but let's look at some simple parallels as to how you prepare to meet the king. First, you have a new name. Okay, you must have a new name. It's not what your parents gave you. You're born into the kingdom, and the king will address you only by your new name. So both Esther and, of course, the 4 Hebrew boys, they are given a new name. They also have a provision from the king, a daily provision, and that's where Daniel said, "We will not eat the food of Babylon." Okay, we will eat, pulse and basically beans and grains. Okay, and so Daniel does a dietary measure that he was tested for 10 days, and we could see that very similar in Ezekiel chapter 4. Okay, all these things we've covered before, guys. I'll put links in the description field for each kind of bullet point we're mentioning. All right, so Daniel and the 4 Hebrew boys are being prepared for the king, right? So we have new names, we have a time period. Esther has 1 year, 4 Hebrew boys have 3 years. We have a eunuch, a master eunuch that oversees what they're doing. In the book of Esther, we know those are the 7 church angels, okay? And there's a master eunuch, and that master eunuch, both Daniel and Esther, they both have high favor with everyone they meet, okay? High favor and tender love. That's what Daniel had. That's what Esther had. So, guys, these are some of the parallels of Daniel and Esther as they prepare for the king, okay? Of course, in Esther's preparation, it started back in 2016, in the 6th month, okay? With the information I'm giving you here, I don't have the precise calendar dates in the Gregorian calendar to this, but I can provide those to you in a note in a description field. If the description field is too full with information, I'll put it in a comment, okay? Because what do we have? We have a situation where in Exodus 30, when the oil is being measured, okay, Esther had 6 months of myrrh, okay, and we know that in the incense oil there are 500 shekels. So those 6 months relate to 500 shekels, thus giving us a time frame so that all the ingredients in the incense, in the oil, gives us a time period, a schedule. That's what we're going to look at, that we have in the notes, which I encourage you to get. As I always say, what I'll do is I'll scan this, I'll put this in the description field. There's going to be so much more to this than we're going to have time to explain in this video. So before you comment or ask questions, which I encourage you to do, please look at the description field. Okay, I will put in there the previous times we've gone over Esther. Okay, we've gone over this many, many times, a whole playlist. So let's look at our notes and let's look at the preparation for the king. All right, let's get ready for the king. Okay, so you can see it's Daniel's and Esther's preparation for the king, and the preparation for the king to stand in the presence of the king in the king's temple. That's what it says is Daniel chapter 1, verse 3 and 4. So in Daniel chapter 1 and Esther chapter 2, there's various things that Daniel and Esther must go through to prepare for the king. Now, what each person represents is what we find in Revelation 12:4. The woman gives birth to a man-child who shall rule the nations. Okay, and then it says her child. Well, it says the same thing in Isaiah 66. We got the notes here. We're talking about this right here. Isaiah 66, verse 7 and 8. Okay, the woman travails to birth the man-child. That's in Isaiah 66. Then she births her children. So there is a distinction between the man-child and the children. Okay, so what do we have? We have Daniel. Daniel is the man-child. Then we have Esther. Esther is the children. Now, if you don't know about this, we have a whole playlist on the man-child. Okay, numbering the man-child, numbering the elect. Okay, we're not going to get into that now because we've covered it so much, but I know some of you are new to this, so just watch the links in the description field before you think you know what we're talking about. So, we have preparation time. How much time does it say for Daniel? 3 years. How much time for Esther? 1 year. So we have, each is given a new name. New names are given. The king must address you by your new name. Daniel's new name is Belshazzar. And Esther's new name is Esther, but her old name in Hebrew was Hadassah. In fact, across from me, I'll show you later in the video, is Hadassah Hospital. And then what we have is the master of the eunuchs, okay, Ashpenaz and Haggai, okay. These are perfect parallels between Daniel's preparation in chapter 1 and Esther's preparation in chapter 2. We can see it's this similar thing. And they were children without blemish. That's what it's talking about with the Hebrew boys, okay. And they had favor and tender love and kindness. Esther had great favor and kindness. Now, as well, guys, we have a whole playlist on Song of Solomon. In Song of Solomon 4:7, it talks about the bride, how there's no spot in her. So we must be without spot or blemish, children with no blemish when the king comes, okay? And this is the preparation for the king. Now, you can see here we have the 7 spirits of God. They are guardians. They train up the Hebrew boys in preparation time for the king. Now, the way we know this is in Daniel chapter 1, verses 4 and 5, we have certain words that are used. The Hebrew boys had understanding and wisdom and knowledge and counsel and might. Okay, these are the 7 spirits of God. The fear of Yahweh and the spirit of Yahweh. All right, these are all within Daniel chapter 1, and then Daniel chapter 2, verse 1, it's talking about spirit, Ruach, the Ruach Yahweh. So the 7 spirits of God are guardians, are training them up in administration for the king's house, okay? And this is what we see, that 7 lamps before the throne in Revelation 4, okay? And John before the throne And the Lamb has 7 lamps, which are the 7 spirits of God. So what are the 7 spirits of God? They have oil, okay, the lamps, okay, to light, to illuminate. And there are different, aspects to them. Understanding, wisdom, knowledge, counsel, might, fear of the Lord. If you don't know about the 7 spirits of God, we have a video on that as well. Okay, but these are those that train up like guardians the 4 Hebrew boys. And in similar fashion, we have 7 maidens in Esther. Okay, she's given 7 maidens that help and prepare her for the king. So this is amazing, guys. The 7 spirits of God. So they would have to prepare us for the king. Now, Esther is given some details that are very important for us to understand. Esther had preparation 6 months of myrrh. Okay, so she had 6 months of myrrh, 6 months of sweet odors. Now, this is very important for us because she has 6 months of myrrh. And the first ingredient in Exodus chapter 30 is myrrh. Not only the myrrh, but it's pure myrrh. And pure in the Hebrew is jubilee or liberty. Okay, so liberty, myrrh, 50. Liberty and jubilee is 50. Well, there's 500 shekels. So now what we have is a conversion, because Esther's 6 months of myrrh converts to 500 shekels. So now if we know the number of shekels, we can then convert those shekels. Okay, each shekel is a weight. Okay, we can convert those shekels into time. Okay, so she had 6 months of myrrh, which is 500 shekels. Now, if we continue with the rest of the ingredients, we can then see that there's a schedule. There is time, preparation time for the king. Now, of course, Esther had 1 year preparation, and Daniel has 3 years. Well, all we're doing here, guys, is we're just reading the scriptures, and we're just applying the shekels and the time and seeing what it says. So this is what it says. So we saw that there was pure myrrh, right? And let's get this all here on the screen. That was the first ingredient in Exodus chapter 30, verse 23. Pure myrrh. Liberty, myrrh. Okay, so Esther had to have 6 months of time, of preparation, of myrrh. Well, those 6 months relate to 500 shekels. Now, the next ingredient is sweet balsam. Okay, so Esther had 6 months of balsam. All right, and you can see that 6 months, 6 months. So that's why we have it twice. You got it here and here. The sweet relates to cinnamon here, and it's standalone here. So balsam is the balsam tree. Okay, like the spice. So that's where, again, we can see those 6 months of sweet odors of Esther's preparation. Balsam relate to 250 shekels, total of 500 shekels between them, right? And there's also cinnamon. And there's very, very significant prophetic understanding in each of these. We just don't have the time to get into it, but you can see in the Hebrew, the word cinnamon is roll of bark. A roll of bark is like a scroll. Okay, so the spices have meaning. Spices have scrolls, significance, books, information. Okay, and that's so a whole other subject. But within each one of these spices, there's amazing information. So now what we're doing is we're adding up the shekels here, and then we're adding up the time here. So let's keep going here. And then we have calamus. Okay, calamus in the Hebrew is the same word for reed, like stalk. Okay, and a measuring reed, when you use a measuring reed to measure the temple. And again, a calamus is 250 shekels. So now what we've done is we've added up the months of these various ingredients. 6 months. 6 months plus 3 months, 9 months. 9 months plus 3 months, 12 months. Okay, calamus, another 3 months. So 3 plus 12, 15. And then we have cassia. All right, cassia is to bow. Cassia is humility. And again, if you haven't seen the video on the Mystery Babylon, she provides all these same spices, including cassia, the merchants. So the unwise virgins, they're told to go buy and sell. Okay, well, you buy and sell with merchants. All right? And that's, you'll see in Ezekiel 27, you'll see cassia. You'll see it in the other video. I wrote it in the notes. So you're only able to obtain these spices by going through purification, by going through testing, passing the test. Okay? Then you get the oil. And the oil is love. Okay? So, cassia, bow, and this is an expensive one. It's 500 shekels. You know, just like myrrh was 500 shekels. Cassia is an expensive one. 500 shekels. So now what we have is within this section of ingredients of these shekels, we have 1,750 shekels. Well, that relates to 1.75 years, or 3¼ years, or 1 year and 9 months. However you want to look at it, it's the same thing. And then what we have is olive oil. Okay, so the actual olive oil is there as well, but olive oil is measured by a hin, not shekels. Okay, so we had shekels, but olive oil is measured by a liquid measure, right? Not by a dry measure like a shekel. So we don't necessarily equate a hin to shekels. But what is the olive oil? You can see right here. It's love. We have to have oil. We have to have love in our lamps. Okay? Who is that really loves him? A lot of people say they do, but we're about to find out when the Son of Man appears in the clouds. All right? So we have the olive oil, a hin. Okay? Now, then what we do is we come to the next section, and the next section has sweet spices, sam. So this is a slightly different word than besam that we had here. And this is the incense. Now, guys, amazingly, here in Israel, the balsam tree has been reintroduced, regrown. It's very difficult for man to grow that, but it's back. Not only that, they actually found the ingredients, all these ingredients in incense oil at the time of the Second Temple in the desert. Okay, it was 1992 that Vendell Jones actually discovered the incense, okay, when he was doing his excavations. I'll put a link in the description field for that. But guys, that is amazing, because this is a liquid. They found an actual liquid bottle that survived of the oil, and the actual dry measurement of the incense they discovered in the sand. Amazing. Why? Because the king is coming. All right. Now let's look at our spices and the incense. You can see it says here, incense of the apothecarium. All right, and then this is the anointing oil. So I definitely encourage you to get these notes. Spend a lot of time, really study this. We're just going to go through how the shekels relate to time. Okay, in this presentation. So we have sweet spices, sam, 250 shekels. Stache means to drop, 250 shekels. Okay. Onycha. Now the root of this word is lion. Okay, and again, there's really interesting things if you study this out. 250 shekels. Galbanum, fat. It's a gum. Many of these are like gums, sap from trees. 250 shekels. And then we have sam. So in Hebrew, it says sweet spices, but it's two words. Sam twice. Before we had sweet spices or sweet odors. Here it was only one word. So that's why we're having two words, meaning double. Double means 500 shekels. Okay, so we got 500 shekels of sweet spices. Then we have pure frankincense, 250 shekels. So what does that add up to? 3.5 years. Okay, so in this section we had 1,750. In this section here we have 1,750. A total of 3,500 shekels, which relates to 3.5 years. Okay, so there we have it, guys. We have Daniel being prepared 3 years, Esther being prepared 1 year. We have incense adding up to 3.5 years. And you say, all right, well, when did this start? Well, this started in August of 2016. That started Esther's preparation. All right, so that would conclude in August of 3 years will conclude in August of 2019. All right, so we're just watching, guys. I'm just presenting this, and I believe these are holy matters. And within Exodus 30, there's another things I want to mention before we go. You can see the last line says, "I will meet with you." It talks about and that's what it's all about. The Lord's intimacy with us, meeting with him, produces the love, produces the oil at the time of his coming. The other thing it says is that the priest, you were to anoint his hands and his feet, that he die not. Okay, and then we see the same thing in the Gospels, where the woman washed his feet with tears and oil. Okay, the alabaster flask. Okay, so guys, this stuff is real, and when the king comes, we're gonna see who really loves him. We're gonna see who's a wise virgin, who's prepared, and who's not. So guys, thanks for watching. As I said over and over in this video, please watch some of the other videos because we've talked about this before. And let's take a look here. Some of you guys might want to see where we are in the forest. Okay, those gold domes is a Russian Orthodox church. That big building there in the back, that's Hadassah Hospital. And we're here in the forest of Jerusalem. Glory to his name. So watch and pray that you count it worthy to escape all these things and stand before the Son of Man. Again, guys, please get the notes. Daniel and Esther's preparation for the king.